Okay, good morning, everybody. So in this little video, I'm going to talk about what your new students need for your beginning percussion class. So a majority of the beginning classes that I've taught utilize what's called a bell kit. And a bell kit is basically a little package that contains a small drum pad for learning rudiments for the snare drum, as well as toms and timpani and any other kind of drum instrument, as well as a little keyboard instrument that you see right here that sort of resembles a little piano where you've got the natural keys and the accidental keys. In this little packet, it also comes with a stand for both the drum pad as well as the bell kit itself. And in some instances, it comes with sticks and mallets, which is what I want to talk about next. So for your beginning class, I recommend that each of your students has at least one pair of general drumsticks and one pair of mallets for the bell kit. With certain stick companies or mallet companies, they'll have pre-assembled stick bags that beginning students can purchase. Now, in this example, it comes with two sets of drumsticks, as well as some timpani mallets, as well as marimba mallets. For me, and when I've been teaching this class in the past, it is helpful for the teacher to have at least one emergency classroom set. That way, if you have a student that is either financially challenged or is having in the mail, like it's taking a while for their bell kit to come in, because I know at the beginning of every semester it can get overwhelming for all these music stores to have to keep up with all of the instrument orders and being backlogged and stuff. So having at least one classroom set is helpful, and it allows for those students to be able to participate in class as early as possible. Also, it's important for you to establish what method book you'd like to use for your class. I'm currently in the process of finishing up designing one for snare drum as well as mallets that kind of just goes a little bit more in depth about some of these fundamental concepts, because in my experience using some of these other books, they don't have as many additional exercises as I would like when it comes to things like ornaments like flams and drags and rolls, because especially at the beginning stages, those are a little bit more you need more practice with those with students. And so I'm kind of finishing up designing some books. So if any of you are in the market for looking at different percussion beginning method books, keep on the lookout for that. One small but really important thing to train your students to be able to do is to be able to know how be able to understand how your class functions. So if you're a band director that's really on top of organization and like really on top of starting on time, and if you can train all of your beginners to expect those things when they enter your class, it's going to make your rehearsal process so much smoother. Because I've seen the opposite, where the band directors don't really address what time warm up starts and what the procedures are for getting the instruments and getting into their seats. And it just wastes a ton of time, and then before you know it, class is already halfway over and the students really haven't even played yet. And on the other end of that, I've seen really on top of the ball band directors that will, as soon because they've gone through the process of training their students from the absolute beginning step, such as when they're walking down the hallway, like what path they need to take to get to the band hall, what's the quickest way, what doors they need to enter in through, what the exact procedures need to be for them getting their instruments, and what their binders need to look like. All of that stuff, they've gone into that level of detail, and it definitely reflects in the rehearsal process, to where students, the entire band ranging from percussionists to flutes to the low brass, they're able to walk into a band hall, know exactly what the procedures need to be. And the band directors also have a specific way their binders need to be, so that way when it comes to rehearsal, the band director already knows like where things need to be placed in the binders, as well as like how many pencils they need to have. All those little things will help the rehearsal process go so much more smoothly. As far as accessories are concerned, I think having a metronome for your percussionist is really important. And there's also free online metronomes for students that might be financially troubled, or if a student has, let's say they've ordered a metronome and it's taking a while for it to get to them. There's also free apps on phones as well for metronomes. So all students should have access to a metronome of some kind. Probably the last really important thing that I'd like for you to consider when you're teaching this class is to establish a seating chart of some kind. So this really helped me in my first year of teaching a lot because I was able to gain more control of my class instead of giving students the luxury of sitting next to friends, especially when they're really young in age. They're going to want to mess around and cause a lot of distractions. So creating a seating chart ahead of time just improved my teaching workflow, and it allowed my students to progress way faster. And then the ultimate goal for today's video is to get you thinking about what your class goals are for this class. So for me, me working with a bunch of other band directors that wanted to play really difficult rep for wind band, my goal was to have students be able to play the musical vocabulary that was in that repertoire. So if like the 7th and 8th grade bands are playing stuff by John Mackey or some other prominent composers that are writing challenging works for younger students, this is something that can kind of help lead us to that. So if I look at a John Mackey score and I know what rudiments they're asking for, I know like the difficulty of the music, I can work week to week to establish a routine to like help all the students be able to play that kind of repertoire whenever they venture on into 7th and 8th grade band. And if you're super organized like that and know what's happening in the week to week, it should help you build some confidence that you're meeting all of these goals, leading towards having your students be able to play that kind of repertoire. Okay, so hopefully this helps. You have a little bit of a better idea of why planning is so important when it comes to teaching a class that you're not as comfortable with. Thanks.